Today, Tuesday, January 18, 2022. Jamaica records a sharp increase in COVID-19 related deaths and hospitalizations. Health Minister says the Prime Minister is not being arrogant in his handling of the current COVID-19 wave. NWC customers to see slight increase in their February bills. U.S. private equity firm says Qantas delaying $8 billion project in Westmoreland. There has been a sharp increase in COVID-19 related deaths in Jamaica and the number of persons hospitalized with the virus. The Ministry of Health this afternoon reported that COVID-19 has claimed 15 more lives. The death toll is now 2,551. 10 of the latest deaths occurred in St. Catherine, 4 in Kingston and 1 in St. Thomas. And hospitalizations have climbed to 540 from 486 on Sunday. 50 of the patients are severely ill, while 11 are in critical condition. Meanwhile, Jamaica's COVID-19 positivity rate remains above 50%. 1,548 COVID cases were confirmed yesterday from 4,341 samples. The positivity rate is 51.5%. The government has hinted that the target to have 65% of the population vaccinated against COVID-19 by March 31 will not be met. Responding to questions from journalists today, Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton acknowledged that the vaccine take-up remains low. He said the focus has shifted from the vaccination target which was set early last year.
My target is that I wish everybody over 18 or over 12 should have the vaccine. I have not been stuck on the 65% number anymore because I think the virus is best neutralized if we all buy into it. Right now we have administered about 1.2 million doses. Only 500,000, just under 600,000 have got a full complement, whether the JF single dose or the double dose. So we are way below the target. We're 22% fully vaccinated, and we really need to move with a pace to get more people on board. So again, I'm hoping that more people will come on board, and we'll continue to provide them with the opportunity.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. And the Health Minister reacted to criticism leveled against Prime Minister Andrew Holness for his handling of the current COVID-19 wave. Mr. Holness has signaled he is not prepared to implement further measures to slow infections, stressing it's now up to Jamaicans to take personal responsibility to protect themselves and take the available vaccines. Dr. Tufton says the Prime Minister is not trying to be arrogant, but is instead driving home the point that more persons need to get vaccinated.
The population also, for the most part, also have to recognize that they have a role too. It can't be a one-sided thing, they have a role. So I really hope that, as I said here, that the populace will be sensitive to the realities that we are very sensitive to their concerns, but at the same time, there is a response that is required that helps to protect them. And that's why I said there is a playbook now. 2 years is a long time for people to know exactly what needs to be done to protect themselves. And we need to encourage that. So it's not an attempt at being insensitive, callous, arrogant. That has no place in how we choose to address this particular issue. We are all vulnerable.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. He was speaking today during the handing over of COVID-19 response equipment from the Federal Republic of Germany at the National Health Fund warehouse at Marcus Garvey Drive in Kingston. Meanwhile, the government is still making efforts to start administering the COVID-19 vaccine to children under 12 years old. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, has recommended the Pfizer vaccine to children in the 5 to 11 age group. The health minister says discussions are taking place on the matter.
We probably would have done that already if the vaccines were available. It's a different concoction, it's a different formula, the Pfizer vaccine for children, which we don't have and we can't get. The team is in dialogue with the manufacturers, but it's not just about the manufacturers, it's about the countries where the manufacturers manufacture, and the fact that those future production has been bought up by the developed countries. So if we could get supplies, and we are in discussions to try and get supplies. It's not just a function of the money that you have and the willingness to buy. It's a function of availability, which involves some bilateral discussion as well as the manufacturer's supplies.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. The World Health Organization, WHO, today said the pandemic will not end as the Omicron variant subsides in some countries and warned that the high levels of infection around the world will likely lead to new strains as the virus mutates. The WHO's COVID-19 technical lead, Maria Van Kerkhove, told a COVID update in Geneva that the virus is spreading rapidly around the world and mutations will likely increase.
We're hearing a lot of people suggest that Omicron is the last variant. That it's over after this. And that is not the case because this virus is circulating at a very intense level around the world. You will see in our weekly epidemiologic update that will be published in a few hours that there's another 20% increase in cases in the last 7 days, with almost 19 million cases that have been reported to us. And again, that's a true underestimate of what is actually circulating around. And the deaths are holding steady around 45,000 deaths per week.
WHO's COVID-19 technical lead, Maria Van Kerkhove. Dr. Bruce Aylward, a senior WHO official, warned high levels of transmission give the virus more opportunity to replicate and mutate, raising the risk that another variant will emerge. In other news, the National Water Commission, NWC, says there will be a slight increase in its water, sewage, and service rates for the February billing cycle. It says the adjustment has become necessary because of an increase in the NWC's electricity costs. As a result, there has been 4.07% movement in the price adjustment mechanism PAM rate to be applied to bills. PAM is an indexation mechanism applied to the water, sewage, and service charges. It is applied to customers' bills on a monthly basis. The PAM is designed to capture changes in electricity costs, foreign exchange rates, and the consumer price index in order to preserve NWC's revenues. The Integrity Commission has found that the request by former St. Anne's Bay Mayor Michael Belnavis for installation of a car charging port at the St. Anne Municipal Corporation building for his personal use was inappropriate and amounted to an abuse of his office. Mr. Belnavis resigned as mayor in July of 2020 as he faced criticism for installing the charging port for his luxury vehicle without authorization. The Integrity Commission launched a probe into the matter, and its report was tabled in the House of Representatives this afternoon. More from Vashon Brown.
The Director of Investigation notes that in March 2019, Mr. Belnavis sent a memorandum to Chief Executive Officer of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, Ravel Morris, requesting installation of the car charging facility. He says based on the evidence, the charging facility was installed for Mr. Belnavis's personal use. He highlights that a memo which was presented indicating Mr. Belnavis requested the port for charging his car and the Ocho Rios clamping vehicle was misleading. He says this is based on the observation that on the date on which the memorandum was issued, consideration for the clamping vehicle had not yet been made by the corporation. The Director of Investigation also concluded that the $78,226 used to pay for installation of the port was from the St. Anne Municipal Corporation, and the device was powered by energy sourced by the corporation from the Jamaica Public Service Company. He notes that the installation cost was repaid by Mr. Belnavis, but says this does not take away from the irregularity of the payment by the corporation in the first place. He says the Commission could not ascertain the costs associated with the electricity use, but has recommended that the sum be calculated and recouped from the CEO, Mr. Morris. The Director of Investigation has also referred the actions of Mr. Morris to the Attorney General and the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government for legal and disciplinary proceedings to take place. He says the Chief Executive Officer of the St. Anne Municipal Corporation must desist with immediate effect from authorizing or causing the authorization of the expenditure of public funds for personal use, and he warned political representatives to desist from making requests of accounting officers which require them to deploy public resources for personal use. Vashon Brown, Radio Jamaica News.
A global private equity firm is claiming that it plans to spend nearly $8 billion to build 2 five-star hotels have been stalled by the failure of the government to remove squatters in Little Bay and Brighton in Westmoreland. Opez LLC says there has been silence from the government, which intervened with a promise to relocate the squatters just before the start of a court-ordered eviction in June 2018. Details from Prince Moore.
Opez LLC says it was planning to build the 2 resorts, each fitted with PGA-style golf courses, but the squatters have occupied the property since the owner purchased it. According to the landowner's legal representative, Alimi Banjoko and Opez LLC, the illegal occupation has prevented access and development. Despite the 2011 court decision granting writs of possession and the eviction of at least 37 squatters, it's reported that the owner, along with prospective investors, are still struggling to have the squatters removed. It's reported that in June 2018, Carl Samuda, who was then assigned to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, intervened and indicated that the squatters would be resettled. According to a report published today on Yahoo Finance's website, since then, several meetings have been held and timetables scheduled. The last meeting was said to have been held in April 2021 with Colonel Charles Jr., who had responsibility for housing and urban renewal. Mr. Charles reportedly promised a swift and decisive response and follow-up. However, neither attorney Alimi Banjuko nor Opez LLC has been updated on the matter. The parties say the government must make every effort to prevent the squatter issue from becoming a political football kicked around by promises that are likely to embolden the squatters. Prince Moore, Radio Jamaica News.
Elroy Griffiths, who was listed as most wanted by the Portland police, is now in custody. He was held by the security forces during a raid in Hope Bay in the parish this morning. A woman was also taken into custody and is likely to be charged with harboring a fugitive. Mr. Griffiths was being sought in connection with the murder of Maureen Johnson in Buff Bay. Investigators say the 50-year-old woman's throat was slashed and her house set ablaze on April 20 in 2019. In Barbados, a High Court judge will give her ruling later today in the injunction filed by a member of the small opposition group Barbados Sovereignty Party, BSP, seeking to stop tomorrow's general election. The court heard arguments this afternoon by attorney on behalf of the BSP as well as the Queen's Counsel Alric Scott, who is representing President Dame Sandra Mason. The injunction claims that the exclusion of more than 5,000 COVID-19 patients is a breach of their constitutional right to vote. It said Dame Sandra, who was sworn in as President of Barbados last November, was unreasonably exercising her discretionary powers by accepting Prime Minister Mia Mottley's election call on December 27. The Guyanese government today announced the immediate end to the issuing of discharge certificates to people in home isolation. It said the significant increase in the number of people contracting COVID-19 had led to a clogging up of the system. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, speaking at the daily COVID-19 update, told reporters that more than 12,000 people are currently infected with the virus. Dr. Anthony said the ministry will be unable to issue documents to each person. He said it would also be extremely difficult to verify the records. Further afield, Tonga says it has been hit by an unprecedented disaster in the government's first update since the volcanic eruption triggered a tsunami on Saturday. Rescue teams have been sent to some of the outlying lands, including one where all the houses were destroyed and another where just 2 homes remain. The UN has confirmed 4 deaths in the disaster, 3 nationals and a woman from Britain. Aid efforts have been hampered by ash continuing to fall from the volcano. Volunteers have been sweeping the runway of the main airport to allow planes, bringing drinking water and other supplies to land. A UN representative for the region said while clearing the ash had proven more difficult than expected, progress had been made and it was hoped that flights might soon resume.